"16 years. 16 years. That is how long ago the original Transformers live-action film released in theaters. Throughout the annals of time... Wait, what? Throughout the annals of time, we have gotten many lows and some highs in the Transformers film franchise. Some lows lower than others.
I am directly below the enemy scrotum. No, Optimus!
Move, bitch, get out of my way! Move, bitch, get out of my way!
You defend my family. Or die.
How am I still a Transformers fan again? Oh yeah, there's good content outside of the movies. So now, 1 month shy of the 16-year anniversary of the first Michael Bay film, we get Rise of the Beasts, a direct sequel to 2018's Bumblebee, which was christened as the breath of fresh air the franchise needed. But with a new director at the helm, will Rise of the Beast be able to meet the level of quality that Bumblebee created? No. I'm just gonna get that out of the way now. No, it's not good as Bumblebee. But it is one of the better outings in the Transformers film franchise. Real quick, I'm going to rank the Transformers films from my favorite to least favorite. Dark of the Moon, Bumblebee, Transformers 1, Revenge of the Fallen, and The Last Knight and Age of Extinction are tied for dead last. So now you'll understand what I mean when I say that Rise of the Beast is as good as the first live-action film. Understand now that I am going to spoil the shit out of this movie, so go watch it if you care about that sort of thing. Final warning, you good? Alright, let's get it. So Rise of the Beast takes place 7 years after Bumblebee. Optimus and a few of the Autobots have taken refuge on Earth to regroup and gather themselves before they head back to Cybertron to strike back at the Decepticons. Meanwhile, ex-military and struggling underdog Noah Diaz is trying to find a job so he can help with medical expenses for his younger brother who suffers with sickle cell disease. The plot is kicked off proper when a museum intern named Elena Fisher accidentally triggers an ancient artifact called the Transwarp Key, yes, this is the MacGuffin, and ignites a beacon in the sky, calling the Autobots and the Heralds of Unicron, the Terracons. So yeah, Unicron is in this movie. He's alive and speaks, which automatically means this is not the same continuity as the Bayverse. Rip in peace, Bayverse fans. So let's get into some of my gripes with the movie first. The plot is painfully predictable. There's a few moments that really make you go, do you really think I'm going to stress about this moment when I know there's still film left? Like at the end of the first act, Bumblebee is quote-unquote killed by Scourge. I get that Scourge needs to be established as a threat, but we all know Hasbro would never let Bumblebee stay dead. But I do have to commend the film for having the balls to keep Bumblebee out of the majority of the runtime. Next, the villains are painfully underdeveloped. Battletrap and Nightbird are literally just bodies for the good guys to fight and kill, and Scourge has some interesting moments that allude to his backstory, but none of that is explored in this film. There is a scene where Unicron implies that Scourge is a refuge from a planet that Unicron devoured, and Scourge made a deal with Unicron so he could be spared. What planet was this? Why did Scourge make this deal? What about Unicron's deal was so alluring to Scourge? My headcanon is that Scourge is Bayverse Prime and the movie does nothing to disprove this. Shut up! Some of the plot could have seriously used some polishing. For example, the first part of the Transwarp Key is inside the statue that looks like Air-Razor, but the second part is under the direct protection of the Maximals and a human tribe in Peru. Why the hell didn't Air-Razor keep that part of the key with her? Why is it in a statue that was found at an art auction held by humans? Lady, you should be guarding this shit with your life. Second, why are the Maximals separated? Why has Air-Razor not kept up communications with the rest of her team? She states that she used to be with other Maximals, but they are now quote-unquote gone. If they either died or gave up on the mission, why not regroup with the rest of the Maximals instead of potentially having to deal with Scourge and the Terracons alone? Third, why exactly does the transwarp key need to exist? The Maximals should have just destroyed it once they realized that Unicron was after it. If they would have at least explained why the transwarp key had to exist, it'd be a lot easier to swallow why destroying it cannot be done. Also, holy shit, there are so many conveniences and contrivances in this movie. The pillar of light that is generated by the first part of the transwarp key just so happens to be invisible to humans. Right. Also, the place the majority of the Maximals reside in just so happens to be rich with energon that could hypothetically revive the dead Bumblebee. Right. Also, Unicron entering the universe/galaxy creates a giant energy wave that activates the energon in Peru and revives Bumblebee. Sure. Also, there's this huge bridge that leads right to the objective of the final battle, and Scourge is guarding the objective, but there just so happens to be a human-sized tunnel under the bridge. Also, Elena wrote down all these random Cybertronic symbols that just so happen to be the code that will stop the transwarp key from teleporting Unicron into the universe. Also, it's super duper lucky that the code was indeed only 3 characters and not like 6 or 7. Do you see what I'm getting at here? This shit is just lucky as hell for the good guys. Another problem I have is that the Maximals get very little development. What exactly is the nature of them? Airazor says that they are from the Autobots' past and future. What exactly does that even mean? Did they time travel? In the Beast Wars original cartoon, the Maximals are the far future descendants of the Autobots, but this movie doesn't do much to clear up the confusion. Primal straight up states that he himself was named after the quote-unquote legendary Optimus Prime, but at the same time, the Maximals have apparently been on Earth for thousands of years, which has several ancient ruins sporting the Maximal insignia. So, which is it? What is happening? Not to mention that, for a movie called Rise of the Beasts, I experienced an insulting lack of beasts. It should have been called Transformers Truck Portion Bird, because Airazor is the only Maximal that gets any significant screen time. Primal at least has some decent interactions with Prime, but Cheetor literally has 3 lines, and I don't even think Rhinox said anything. Also, in a neat nod to the toys, Ape-Link appears at the beginning of the film, only to get completely bodied by Scourge in a curb stomp battle to establish Scourge as a threat. The last con I want to talk about is the last shot of the movie before the credits roll. Yes, I have a problem with this one little thing. At the end of the movie, Noah gets recruited into G.I. Joe. I'm not fucking kidding. See, most people went into batshit euphoria with this moment, experiencing projectile vomit at such a velocity that sent them flying across the theater in a 0 to 60 time that would make a Suzuki Hayabusa blush. I am not one of those fucking people, I'm gonna tell you that right now. I hate the idea of crossing these franchises over because even though we've now had 7 Transformers films, we've only explored the shallow end of the ocean when it comes to the lore. Like, for fuck's sake, we haven't even seen Alpha Trion in the live-action movies yet. The guy who was Optimus Prime's mentor in G1? Yeah, we got a similar composite character in Sentinel Prime, but
A deal had to be made with Megatron.
let's just do it the right way this time. There are so many ideas to explore in the Transformers universe. We just got Combiner Wars, Titans Returns, and Power of the Primes in the toy lines. We haven't even touched the Predacons, the Headmasters, or Ultra Magnus yet. Yes, I know Cogman is technically a Headmaster, but he didn't do that shit in the movie, so it doesn't count. You know who Liege Maximo is? Tarn, the Quintessence?
I think the fuck not!
Okay, let me pump the brakes. It sounds like I absolutely hated the movie, but let me talk about the pros. The robots actually have way more screen time in this film than any of the Michael Bay films. There's scenes where it's just the robots talking amongst themselves while the humans are either not in the room or some distance away from them. On top of that, the robots are actually characters this time. Optimus has a character arc. I knew this was something different when Scourge name-dropped Primus in the first act of this movie. The first time Transformers God has ever been mentioned in live action. It took 7 movies, but man, we finally made it, boys. There's some surprisingly emotional scenes in this movie where I felt something besides disgust, anger, or fatigue. When Noah tells his brother that they may not win this battle, I actually felt something. When Mirage seemingly dies, I felt something. Too many times in the Michael Bay films when characters died or were in danger of dying, emotion was generated because the characters had been around for a long time, not because you actually cared about the character. When Ironhide gets blasted by Sentinel with his cosmic rust cannon, or when Lockdown rips out Ratchet's spark, it was sad because Ironhide and Ratchet were 2 of the original characters from the 2007 movie, not because they were particularly riveting or likable characters in that series. Michael Bay exploited familiarity. He never did any of the legwork to make emotional payoffs work. Pete Davidson's Mirage was a surprising standout character. He balances on a thin tightrope between an annoying character and an endearing character, nearly losing his balance in some spots of the movie. But by the end, I was happy to see that we're going to be getting more of him, so I guess they did something right here. Optimus Prime. Holy shit, they did my boy good in this movie. After rewatching Age of Extinction for my analysis, I had little faith that we'd get a Prime that is truer to text. But this movie accomplishes that in a way that is interesting and faithful to the character. Prime starts the movie as a cynical war general who only cares about getting back to Cybertron to save his people and his home. He is very distrusting of humans, stating that they are self-interested and not to be trusted, which rings true when Noah conspires with Elena to destroy the transwarp key when they get the chance in order to ensure Earth's safety. What really warmed my heart was one scene in particular. In one part of the movie, Airazor gets possessed by Scourge and Noah and Elena flee with part of the transwarp key. When given the opportunity to destroy that part of the key, Noah takes aim at the key with his gauntlet that Mirage gave him. Optimus spots them and begs Noah not to destroy the key, as it is the only way they have to get back to Cybertron. Bay vs. Optimus, on the other hand, would have threatened to blast Noah into a fine mist of blood and piss if he saw that.
Noah, you stop right now, or I'll tear your face from your head and feed it to Grimlock, you fucking worm.
The fact that Optimus learned to be understanding and gentle but firm in this movie is my favorite thing about this film. It harkens back to all the versions of Optimus that I grew up with, not the violent psychopath Michael Bay cooked up. The film also does a good job of connecting Bumblebee to this movie. Usually the Transformer films have events happen, bad guys and MacGuffins introduced and characters introduced, but by the time the next movie rolls around, the previous film's events are nothing but a distant object in the rear-view mirror. Rise of the Beasts, on the other hand, has references to Charlie Watson from Bumblebee and the fact that Earth was only supposed to be a planet to regroup on. It makes the movies feel more connected. There's also a lot of small character moments that really show that the writers were paying attention to their own writing and had intent behind writing these characters. A few examples being the fact that Optimus does not call B Bumblebee, he calls him B, which is short for B-127, his designation in the Bumblebee movie. In the finale, Scourge fires upon Bumblebee as he skydives from Stratosphere. Nightbird flies up to confront Bumblebee, but she gets grabbed and used as a shield by Bumblebee. Scourge does not stop firing, showing that he does not care about his own troops. Optimus and Noah have a conversation in the All Hope is Lost section of the second act. Look up the Blake Snyder beat sheet if you don't know what that is. Optimus actually explains to Noah what till all are one means and how he had lost sight of that in his quest to get back to Cybertron. There's even an in-story reason for why Optimus has such a violent hatred for Scourge throughout the movie. Scourge killed Optimus's most trusted scout and close friend. Of course he's furious. All of this shows that the people working on this movie clearly care about the universe. They even played Arrival to Earth from the 2007 movie during the final part of the climax. The Cybertronics that the Maximals use is from the original Beast Wars cartoon. Optimus transforms just like he does in G1. He has the matrix of leadership in his chest, and it does not look like that fucking Doritos 3D chip thing from Revenge of the Fallen.
Matrix.
Scourge has some of the lesser-known faction insignias on his armor, such as the Wreckers and Mercenaries. Ape Link is fucking here, like, what? This movie was created by a team of people that want to celebrate this franchise, including the good and the bad. This is not the same team that reused Long Haul in every movie after Revenge of the Fallen. This is not the same team that introduced the leader of the Combaticons only to chop his fat head off and put that shot in one of the TV commercials. This is not the team that gave Bumblebee a hammer that just so happened to look like the Forge of Solus Prime, only to release the goddamn movie and be like, lol, no, Bumblebee always had this hammer. He used it to beat up Nazis in WW2. He just never used the hammer until now. Fuck The Last Night. That movie had me theorizing a better plot than the movie actually had. Might do a video on that one. Anyways, that's all I've got to say that's substantial about this movie. All in all, I give it a 0 out of 10. Wheeljack looks like an absolute clown with his Steve Urkel looking ass. Oh, vote for Pedro looking ass. Oh, I only got cucked one time this week looking ass. Boy look like a fucking turbocharged sack of maidenless. Boy look like a skid mark with glasses. Boy look like a... Okay, so this is me after watching the movie a second time, and I have some more thoughts. So there's this one shot at the beginning of the movie that had me paying attention to one small detail for the rest of the film. This is the shot. What I noticed is that throughout the rest of the movie, Scourge doesn't have this insignia on his left shoulder. And I don't mean it inconsistently shows up, I mean it is gone for the rest of the film. What I think happened is that, as we found out, since there are scenes in the trailers that didn't end up in the movie, there are huge chunks of film cut out that explained a lot. Here's what I think was cut from the final version. The prologue on the Maximal homeworld actually takes place in the far future. The Maximals left their homeworld and traveled to the past and hid on Earth with the transwarp key. This explains why Scourge doesn't have the Maximal insignia on his left shoulder for the majority of the film. He doesn't have it because the Scourge in the majority of the film is from the past. But when they chopped out the exposition for the Maximals and how they're from the future, they had to change Scourge's line so that he is aware of who the Maximals are. Otherwise, there would be utter confusion as to why Scourge killed the Maximal leader, then doesn't know what a Maximal is. This explains so much, and it also causes the whole movie to be worse off for it. If this explanation was added, it would fix the plot hole of the Maximals being on Earth for so long, yet being from the future. It would also explain how Optimus Primal was named after Optimus Prime and how Primal doesn't think Prime is living up to the legend. Why they chose to not include one little throwaway line from Airazor or Primal is beyond me. It's the equivalent to finding out there's a hole in the wall of your home, but instead of just using some caulk and filling it, you decide to rip the whole wall down and rebuild it with a completely different material. It is such a befuddling and overproduced solution that it honestly comes across as something only a big, sprawling mega studio like Paramount could come up with. Anyways, I thank you all for watching. I know I didn't cover everything, but this is just my impressions on the film and what I thought of it. And in regards to my last video, I want to thank all of you for the insane amount of support. I was absolutely floored when I saw the positive response to a video I didn't expect to get off the ground so fast. I hope you all end up enjoying the future content I produce. If you'd like to support me and check out a novel from an indie author, hit the link in the description and take a look at my sci-fi military series Blur Havoc. It would be much appreciated. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time.
Bumblebee. I wish to have Alita 1 twist my servos for several cycles. This prime is jonesing for an oil change.